Welcome to the Overflow Mindset Group. Hopefully you experience an overflow in your life. Today we're just going to give some updates. We're going to take the first update. We're going to take a look at the futures market and look at what's going on with some of the indices and maybe some of the other commodities. So looking first at the S&P 500, and I'll kind of make this a little bigger here. Last time we spoke about gap up and gap down and kind of how that happens. In the futures market, which is running overnight, as you see here, we actually have a gap up already on the S&P 500. Of course, we got several hours before the market actually opens, so we'll determine whether that's going to be a huge gap up or maybe it's going to be a gap down, or it's just going to be a sort of a break-even sort of place by the open tomorrow. But looking at that right now, there's a gap up. The gap up is indicated by the close of the previous candle, day's candle, which is here at about 4,005, and then that next candle opened up at about 4,026, and it's still kind of bouncing around here. So we'll see. It could come down, and kind of close this gap that's sort of happening right here. But with that gap up, that this is where in the morning you could have a pretty serious gap up depending on what's going on. So we're seeing the upward movement, which is what we are expecting at this point. When we were here, we were expecting price to go down, and now that we've come here, we're expecting the price to go up some. Largely, we're basing that on the fact that we pushed up out of the water, which is the 200 movement average, which is a major feat, and then we expected it to retest that. It did retest, but failed to go higher at that point, so it descended more. Also, we had confirmation with our RSI, which was here, showing that it was overbought at that particular point, and down here we refer to this as oversold, basically at this low level here. So we expect to get some upward movement in the price. Now, will that sustain, or will it continue to sort of bounce around here? We're not sure, but looking at the price, it looks like it's going from that 3,900 level back up to the 4,100 level. So we'll see what happens. The gap up is a good sign, though. Nasdaq, looking at the Nasdaq 100 futures market, same thing. We're seeing a little bit of a gap up that occurred here, and so we'll continue to monitor that. Again, we have several hours on that. Of course, the price is still underwater, but we didn't go down to the previous lows. So it looks like what we're establishing here is a higher low on a larger time frame here. So if that higher low holds, we expect these prices to continue up. And again, we're looking for this overflow season to start eventually, where the market actually just starts trending upward instead of retracing like it is now. Russell 2000, same thing. Looking at the Dow, same thing with the Dow Jones Industrial Average. So we got a little bit of a gap up right here. We'll see what transpires throughout the night and into the morning. But again, we were expecting price to start moving up. We're getting a nice push up, and we're getting a gap up as well. So that's a good sign. Again, when we were over here, we were saying that we're expecting price to go down. Price has gone down since then, and now we're expecting price to start moving back up. And so we'll look at this level as a support level, and price bounces around a little bit in here. We that's okay, but the idea is that we're kind of expecting this to be the next support level. And if at worst, we could go back, I guess, and test some of these lows here, but we think that these may be the lows for now. All right, let's take a look at crude oil. So crude oil, let's see. So we were talking about crude oil and the fact that crude oil actually spends most of its time below $75. So I think we went back to 2014 or some time period back then. Yeah, 2014. We were looking at how the price has always been below $75 a barrel. So right now, what we're expecting is for price to come down to the $75 a barrel price, and then test that. And if it tests and bounces and says, "Hey, I'm going to be higher," go higher, it will go higher. If it breaks through and goes back to what we might consider normal for several years here of being below $75 a barrel, then that will happen as well. So that's what we're expecting. Now, it's not just going to necessarily beeline straight for the 75. So we think a couple weeks or whatever it may take for it to get there. But so it may pull up and then pull back down, pull up, pull down, and eventually get to a point where it can test the $75 level. Looking at gold, Gold, expecting gold to move up actually, based on the RSI levels here. Generally, it has gone up after some run down from higher levels down, and it looks like it's holding support at 1700 at this particular point. So maybe we see some bouncing in here, and then maybe a push back up. Then we'll kind of see what happens with price for gold after that point. All right. We have lean hog. Yeah, we probably won't go into that. Let's look at natural gas. That was another one that was kind of moving up quite a bit there. So we hit those all-time highs. We've sort of bounced through those all-time highs. We haven't been able to maintain above the all-time high at this point. So we'll have to monitor this to see if it's going to start, a retest of this, or whether that's really just it for it. Looking here, as we go deeper, this could go deeper down, and maybe come back and test the 200 moving average. Again, we had our peaks over here, so we'll see what happens if it comes down from here. All right. Let's see, wheat seems to be curving up out of above the 50-day moving average. If it can maintain above it, it's having a little trouble getting above the 50-day moving average, and then eventually out of the water mark, basically above the 200 EMA watermark that we have here, would be the next move for wheat. But it is sort of curving its way out and upward, so we'll see what happens ultimately. Bonds, I think we said those will continue to go down. Corn is on the move to the upside, so definitely follow corn here just to see if it continues this movement. We have this gap that it should fill, which is indicated by this box here. So we would expect price to continue up and at least fill that gap if it is going to go down, but at least kind of come up and close that gap. All right, we got soybean starting to really sort of break down at this particular point. We'll see what happens. And then we get into currencies. So Australian dollar here. We have the British pound going down pretty much. We have the Canadian dollar. Looks like it's having a pullback right now. The euro. So we were talking about how it's sort of reaching that $1 mark, the parity mark here, but it is bouncing around that particular mark. Find a lot of consolidation right around the $1 mark. So we'd have to kind of watch this to see what happens. Japanese yen continuing to fall. It's fallen quite far at this point, but I guess it's not to say that it won't, continue to fall even more as we look back through history of other times where it's gotten this low. So on the downtrend, looks like the valid signals would be the upper RSI signals that we're showing here when price is actually going to move down. So there's no telling how far down this could go. But for the UJ pairs, of course, the UJ pair would be going up. This is the contract for Japanese yen futures. All right. Looking at here, Swiss franc. We're in a channel pretty much. Let's mark that out. So we look here, actually. Yeah, if we were to look here, we're pretty much in this channel here. So that's kind of where price is. Just bounced off the bottom here. Could go all the way up to the top, maybe go halfway, come back, then go back to the top. But that's right now, it is moving up right now, currently. All right, so then you can get into, let's say, Bitcoin futures. So with Bitcoin, we're looking for this level to hold. We'll have to see if this level can hold. It is a point where we might see some upward movement based on the RSI settings here. So we'll have to continue to watch that one. But overall, it has been underwater, has been going down for quite a while now. But we'll have to see if this support holds. All right. So that's kind of it for futures. So I'll go ahead and conclude this video, and in the next video we'll talk about either ETFs or more stocks and that sort of thing. All right, thanks, and overflow.